Topic number two we'll be covering, headline reads, Chinese and Russian hackers reportedly stole vaccine data from European drug regulator. This is not the first, and it's not going to be the last headline that we read that is like this, but one line that really stood out was these hackers were not trying to get the cure or the ingredients, but let me read it real quick. It is, they mostly appeared interested in the shipping destinations and purchase sizes for Pfizer and BioNTech COVID vaccines. That's pretty interesting. What are your thoughts in terms of that strategy when it comes to a story like this?
So two things. One, I believe the shipping destinations because stealing vaccines is starting to become the hot crime. I read somewhere that 2 or 3 million doses of COVID vaccine were already stolen. I think people are trying to downplay the fact that those vaccines are being stolen because there's soon to be a thriving black market where you can buy. Actually, I think right now, some of the places that hackers sell identities, you can also buy COVID vaccines. I'd say buyer beware for any vaccines you buy out of the darknet. But there very much is a secondary market for this. What I found most interesting, Chinese hackers and Russian hackers don't like each other. They usually don't get along. But this was the second story this week that I saw them both not really working together, but both beating up the same victim. The other one was SolarWinds. I don't know if we're going to cover this, but SolarWinds, it was found that Russian hackers broke in, but then Chinese hackers took advantage of it after the fact.
Is that not an example of just like the hacker community in general? Because maybe it didn't have to be, state actor and state actor. They just basically said, oh, they broke in. Oh, let's go in and, do what we do best.
The hacker community is fairly helpful, but state-sponsored groups typically do not participate. SolarWinds was never announced in the hacker community. Russian hackers clearly never disclosed that. Russian hackers and Chinese hackers as state-sponsored groups, they generally don't work together. They don't get along. And I believe there have been plenty of instances where they've been hacking each other. But it's fascinating where they're not exactly working together here. They're just both picking on the same victim. And I don't know how they ended up, probably some espionage to see, hey, there's a lot of activity around SolarWinds. Let's go and figure out what's going on there and exploit it.
This is actually not the first instance that we've seen that they have been collaborating. In addition to Iran, there have been cases. I think several years ago, there was a CIA informant tool that was hacked. I think it was the Iranians got in first, and they started communicating with Chinese and Russian governments. So it makes sense that they are communicating, and it's pretty dangerous.